good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's Monday.
It is, and we're darn excited.
It's true.
Look who else
here
is
we go.
excited.
He's
We
here
had
early.
an escape.
He's here early.
We had
my
an
goodness.
escape. Well, he's saying hi, and he'll be back in a little bit.
All right.
He loves it when we say hi to people. Well, today we have a lot going on. We're going to do a workshop, and I think we're going to cover a whole lot of territory. So if we go too fast, then let us know in the chat, and we can split it up and finish another time. But this is going to be a level 1 workshop, right?
With into level 2.
With a few deep dives, right?
All right.
What pin do you have, Flynn?
Let's see. So today we are. What are our
that's
pins
cool.
for today? I like this one. I've worn it before, but we are definitely in the territory after 92 shows of wearing things we've worn before.
Well, I showed you our pin boards, our super high-tech, fancy, luxury cardboard pin boards. Okay, what's yours?
Okay, so today I have got, let me see, what have I got
What's going
here?
on? Oh, there you go.
I am sporting a
Yay.
Pinocchio with Jiminy Cricket.
Look at that, sharp as a
pen,
tack.
which, strangely, has 2 pins on the back of it, which doesn't always happen.
Oh, that's cool. Keep it nice and level.
Yeah, because even that gigantic Haunted Mansion one we have only has 1 on it.
You know, being guys who occasionally wear pins and also wear con badges, I would be a fan of like a little shirt suspender or something that keeps your shirt like
A shirt
up.
suspender.
I don't know what it would do, like a little shoulder thing. Maybe it's called a bra. I don't know.
Why don't you share that?
Okay, here. So this is my pin there, and I guess you don't need to see it in sharp focus because you can tell it's a 2x2. There it is, from MKE, right? Fabufan MKE. This was a gift from them, and because we're talking about Lego and workshops today, I'm going to wear Lego.
Well, Orange Brick says, "Hey, TrickyBricks, my friend is here called HRB Lego. I recommended this to him."
Oh,
Awesome!
that's great. Welcome. You know what we haven't done is we haven't said hi to people
We
yet.
haven't said hi to people, so let's go ahead and let's see what.
Oh, that's
who
cool,
is
Orange
chatting
Bricks.
today. Hey, Albert Lee, welcome, welcome. Baked Bacon is here. Haven't seen you in a little while. Hi, Brickanista. Hi, Naomi. Brickaroo Bonsai. Brickworm. Debo Bricks.
Fabufan MKE.
There he is.
The aforementioned.
Gwyneth. Hi,
Yay,
Gwyneth. Oh, it's
hi.
always so nice to see you here. And I got to tell you, we loved Orson's build so much.
It was
great.
so great. And those 2 perspective shots of it were great.
And then Hooded One. And I think we were talking about different things, but yes.
Oh, really? Oh, well,
HR
I saw art too.
HRB Lego is here. Insane
Okay.
Lego fan. Marilyn Parmley. Matt
English.
MJ. Hey, MJ. Moto is here. Oh, no minifig chick yet.
Nope.
Interesting.
Hi, Moto. Welcome back. It was so fun hanging out with you yesterday.
Orange Bricks. Raptus of Dathomir.
What
one
a
of
great
our new
name.
favorite names. So awesome. Remy Baker, Shane Levan. Hey, Shane. The Brick Orphanage. The Mowgli. Zach Martinez and Kim.
And Zerkino Kim.
Welcome.
Hi there. Welcome to everyone who's not chatting as well. And everyone are we on Facebook today?
We're always on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Yep. So, although, like I said, Facebook people tend to not chime in as much.
It's like.
Yeah, I think people aren't used to commenting live things on Facebook at this point.
So I know we have several things. We've got, in addition to the how-to workshop, we're
Hey, Pablo, welcome.
Pablo, Oh, we've seen Pablo before,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
And Baked Bacon is here.
Pablo
I see
and
it
MJ.
shows up differently.
Pablo and MJ live very close to each other.
Oh, cool. Righto. Well, I know we have a little bit of Lego news. And we have stickers today, too. And we're going to do all of that before the workshop starts.
I don't know if we can classify this as Lego news. It's still just kind of a rumor, but it's one of those things. So, yes, we did see Moto on Brick Vault on YouTube, which is awesome.
And so is this is a rumor we can share? It's kind of getting to be common knowledge, right? It's not secret.
It's not a rumor in like this thing's going to come out. It's actually a rumor about something leaving. So,
Yep.
The big word around the Lego internets is that Hidden Side is no longer. It is going to be going away after this wave, and I'm
So stock up.
so stock up if you want those Hidden Side sets. Yeah, from what I understand, that's a thing that's happening.
Flynn's coffee cup has a request here.
Yeah. So I have a cup request. Yes,
Yeah.
it's my Alice in Wonderland cup.
With a Cheshire
Cheshire
cat
Cat.
that used to disappear and appear with hot liquids, but
Now he's always there.
he's not feeling it. He just hangs out there now.
Yeah, just so you know, we will not address rumors about things that haven't happened yet. I mean,
secrets.
sorry, like sets that haven't come out yet or anything like
Yeah.
that. But we will, like, this is not really like giving anything away. So,
Flynn is part of the Lego News media, and so he gets some advanced knowledge sometimes, and we'll always be secret about that stuff.
Raptus, yes, we love horror movies. I think I love them more than Richard does. But
what?
we are fans.
I don't think. Okay. I think we both love horror movies equally, but Flynn is more likely to still watch a slasher movie, and I don't watch those anymore.
Yeah.
Other than, of course, Halloween was awesome.
Yeah, well, Halloween is the original, right?
Yeah. I've moved on. I like some Vincent Price and sort of fantasy horror, I think, or supernatural horror. How about you? So what led you to say that you think you like horror movies better than me?
Well, I just watch more of them than you do.
It's true. I can't watch
But
anything with
more
knives.
time,
I'm
so.
sorry.
Anyway, but
Scary, creepy.
I gotta say, Predator or Alien, hands
Yay,
down. Sorry,
Alien for sure.
We were around when the original Alien came out, so.
Right. I mean, really, Sigourney Weaver is the Jamie Lee Curtis of space sci-fi, wouldn't you say? Like they're both top of their game.
Oh, Kim, I love Vincent Price too. Oh, Vincent Price is my favorite. Let's see.
Yay, Vincent Price. That's my go-to.
So, I don't know. I didn't hate Hidden Side, but I felt like the artwork was, first of all, very difficult to parse. Like trying to understand what was going on was really weird, right?
Yeah, I guess, I love the models. I think the models and the sort of Lovecraftian theming are great. I love the creepiness of it. But like Flynn, I found the packaging to be very confusing. So I think people didn't know quite, is it an AR game? Is it like new Monster Fighters? What is it? But I love it for the parts, and I'm really glad that we have a number of the Hidden Side sets. I just didn't, personally, I don't play the AR games. Do you? I played Dimensions a lot. That was super fun. Flynn, what's going on?
Sorry.
We've got, I think, a Hidden Side set here,
right? We did? No, I just wanted to show you what I meant. So, like, here...
Oh, I see you're expanding,
So, like, here's a Creator 3-in-1 set, right? You know exactly what you're getting, right? You know exactly what you're getting. That's what it's going to look like.
Right, it's going to be this building, and you can create stories about this building with people doing things.
Yeah, so this, but then you look at this, and, like, I don't know, it's a drawing of the model, not the actual model.
Well, there's going to be a fire truck in
And then
right?
there's this confusing, like, other half. But before, then this is actually one of the better ones. Before, this line used to be way, way, way over here. So you were only seeing one tiny part of the actual model. And then in some of them, the split was really bad. So,
so what do you all think
I'll
of
miss the
Hidden Side?
spooky pieces.
Yeah. The creepy ghosts are great, and I love we probably have 6 of that ghost dog now, right?
Spencer, yeah. I liked the pieces, and I liked having, like, the spook. There was a lot of great spooky eye tiles. Clicky may be getting some spooky eye tiles. But,
he should.
Yeah, and it had some great pieces, but I think overall, and I think, too, the other part of it, for at least a lot of adult collectors, is that it had a really deep lore, which these things always do, but it was really confusing unless you followed the cartoon.
Well, I mean, but don't
The
they all
animation.
have deep lore? Like we know people who are super into Bionicles, and gosh, there is like pantheons
They
and
do.
lore and lore and lore about those.
They do. I mean, and again, they're not terrible sets. They just, I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, maybe they just didn't speak to us as much. I think maybe we weren't the target audience.
Right.
Now, if they would bring elves back,
Now, see, there you go. And there's another thing, right? So I mean, I say this as a rumor because Lego never really talks about when things are going away.
no,
Much.
they want to feature what's new and exciting, right?
Yeah. Hey, Christopher, how's it going?
Now, I predict that Monkey Kid is going to be as long-lived as Ninjago. I may be wrong about this, but I think Monkey Kid's here to stay. I think they've put a lot of work into it. I think it's super exciting. I think how much you can have adventure flying around on cloud vehicles.
Yeah,
He's cool. The
it's-
Monkey Kid himself has a lot of. I mean, I don't know. I'm 53 and I'm kind of square, right? So I don't know what's cool these days. But to me, yeah, square. L7.
Okay.
Right? But I don't know. I think he's cool, Monkey Kid.
Yeah.
And that you can have a lot of adventures, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Monkey Kid movie.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be. Well, we saw that. We saw that one. There's a Monkey King movie that we saw on.
Oh,
like,
unrelated to Lego.
yeah, it was
Right?
crazy.
Yeah,
oh my
it was.
goodness.
So it was subtitled, right?
Yeah.
Was it? I don't remember the original language it was in, but it was like the top fantasy green screen. It was like
bananas.
Marvel movies.
Get it?
For
Bananas.
Monkey. Oh, I see what you did there. I see. It gave me pause.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and you know
What are we even doing, Flynn? What are we doing here?
I have no idea. Any desire for themes to return?
Yeah,
I
I'd love.
mean-
I don't know if they could expand. Well, you go first.
I'd love to see a good castle theme come back, like a nice medieval castle theme.
Straight up medieval with medieval people and horse armor and dragons and swords and
Right.
just total like
And-
historical medieval.
And elves would be great, or something similar. You know, I've
Yeah.
been saying for a long time, I've been advocating for mermaids, which I think would be amazing.
Don't you think?
Yes, it would be. I think that would be amazing. Yeah, classic space.
But
would
you
be
know what
good.
I don't think it'll happen. Not that I don't think mermaids will happen. I think mermaids will happen. I think there'll be mini doll mermaids.
Well, yeah. I
that-
mean, yeah.
So,
that's
but
fine.
you wouldn't see it with minifigure mermaids.
No. No.
Yeah,
I like
those
the mini doll
long-
mermaids,
those long
actually. They've got the
lines,
nice
right?
tails.
Yeah.
Oh, Fabuland. Yes, of course.
Well,
We'd love
Fabuland
to
would
see
be
that.
great, right? You know, like an anniversary return of that. If you're listening, Lego.
Yeah, Squirrel Girl says, "How do you discover the lore behind the sets?" So there are wikis set up. So when I was reviewing the Hidden Side sets, like I had to kind of dive a little bit into the lore. And there's like a whole Hidden Side wiki that tells you all of the characters, like how they fit into the story. And from what I understand, the episodes are very short. So you can kind of like cover a lot of ground in one wiki check.
Got
So
But also,
Yeah.
don't the sets have lore in the instruction booklets?
some of it, yeah. Some of
Yeah,
it
and
does.
then I don't know, maybe fans. And then when you're looking at someone, you're talking to them, and then when you're not. We've been
So-
having a Christopher Guest Film Festival,
Oh,
and it is
It's been
amazing.
great. We've had a fun time with that.
It's great. We've watched all of them, I think, now except Spinal Tap.
So, you know, I was thinking, if they're working with
Which we've all
Nintendo,
seen.
Animal Crossing might be next, Fabuland-ish. Yes!
That
Oh
would
my
be great.
God.
Wouldn't that just like
That would sell a bazillion copies. The
Lego
only,
cherry,
the only problem is I think that would be a limited sort of...
like a single IP?
Yeah, well, just
issue.
because it doesn't. There's not a lot of change that happens. Like, there's only so much you could put in. Like, once you have
Yeah.
all the stores and stuff, you're kind of done. But still, really, that would be really
Yeah.
fun.
And now,
Um,
from what we've learned before, it would be folly for someone to put an Animal Crossing ideas set up, right?
No, there already is one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't go down because of IP?
Oh.
Oh, well, that's
No,
cool.
because they're not particularly doing it. But it's confusing. Anyway,
Look at that. All that.
Yes, Brickworm. That's right. Actually, a blind bag CMF set of Animal Crossing figures would be perfect. I mean, there's so
Oh
many.
my God.
There's so many characters to choose
Yeah,
from. And
that'd
what's great
be-
is all of the characters are the same model, right? So like if you have an elephant neighbor,
Yeah.
that elephant is going to look the same no matter which elephant is. And there's like 25 different elephants, and they're all just different colors and styles of that same model.
And then you get different clothes for all of them.
There
Can
you
you
go.
imagine?
Just saying.
Oh my goodness, I can.
So, speaking of castle.
Speaking of castle.
Well, did you see like that?
Wow,
that was a segue that went
right
way
there.
back.
I mean, that was.
So we were
that was
talking
like
about
Martha
castle.
Stewart. I always want to call her Martha Graham, right? That was the choreographer, Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Would approve. See, it's so strained, that pop culture reference.
I think we're just going to move on to this. All right, it's time for Sticker Set Show and Tell, and this time
Show and Tell.
we actually had a Zonker sent in a sticker set because, as you know, we're running low on stickers, and so we've been trying to get people to take pictures of their favorite sticker sets and send them to us over email. Flynn at TrickyBricks.com.
Yep, and Zonker did send us some cool ones.
And Zonker did send us some cool ones, so I'm going to find that, and I believe
it's a new scene. Look at
right.
that.
There you go.
Na, 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 na.
All right, so this is our sticker set, and look, we don't have any problems with the autofocus, and Clicky can just
Oh, and you know what I
take a
did?
hike.
Darn it, I didn't put the set number on here, but the sticker number, if you want to look it up, is 25517-6141551. It's from 2016, and it's Murloc's Library. This was Nexo Nights. Murloc's Library 2.0. It came with 3 figures: Ava, the Crust Smasher, which I think was our villain.
I hope.
Right? And the hero, his name is Lance, and he's wearing a jetpack. That's cool. I love the lion there. The sort of coat of arms banner.
Yeah, and I wonder what the significance of that number is, because it kind of looks like a phone number. I was wondering, like, what was up with that.
Well, they're always combining sci-fi and it does look like a phone number,
doesn't it? Here, I'm gonna pull this close in.
867-5309.
It's not really, but check it out. 3756075. I'm sure it has some kind of significance because these things always do.
Well, they probably had some kind of sci-fi vehicle, right? Because that's what you were talking about with medieval. This was medieval and science fiction.
Well, more techno than science fiction, really, I think. But there was a lot of electronic music being played at those places. All right, everybody. So, real quick before we get started on our big thing for the day, which is talking about the photography stuff.
Yeah, we have a thing.
We are doing. Oops.
Well, we cleaned up around here.
We are doing a subscription drive. We are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, not just followers, but subscribers.
Yep.
So if you haven't already subscribed and you're here, please subscribe. Although I think most of our friends here have been here for a very long time. So
I think that's true.
We are going to, once we hit 2,000 subscribers, we are going to be giving away the Monkey King. The Monkey Kid, Monkey King Warrior Mech.
Got it.
We have this awesome model to give away. We're really, really excited about it. And we wanted to thank all of you for supporting us and being here on the stream and subscribing. So we are going to be giving that away when we hit 2,000 subscribers. And right now we're at 1637. So we've gotten a nice amount of followers over the last week since we've been talking about this.
Yeah, my guess. I think we're headed into summer now. I think it's going to be a summer giveaway.
Yeah.
And we have another, actually.
Who knows? It could be December giveaway. Like, who knows? But when we hit those 2,000 subscribers, we will do that.
And not that we're like the sweepstakes channel or anything, but we actually have another giveaway planned, a sort of Tricky Bricks care package.
For our 100th episode, we're going to be doing a little sort of Tricky Bricks care package giveaway.
Coming right up.
That's coming up in 2
all
weeks
of our
on a Sunday, I believe. If not, we may have to do an extra show to get it to work out that way.
Yeah, we can do that. A bonus episode, a very special build and chat.
All right, so speaking of a special build and chat, we have got there today. Thank you so much for the subscription. I think that was Orange Brick's friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, yay, great.
HRB Lego, thank you. Make that 1638. Oh, and look, it went up.
Look at that technology that's working for
I
us.
actually haven't been able to get. I haven't seen that happen since we got it. I had to keep like resetting it every show. Maybe it's finally working.
It's all
The
very
vagaries
squirrely,
of all
right?
this stuff is
Very
so
squirrely.
weird.
It's battling control panels, right? Is the thing.
It's battling everything. It's kind of ridiculous. But Hope McGowan, hi, how's it going? Welcome.
You're just in time for our Monday how-to today, right? We've got through so many. We had sticker time. We had a preview of Logan. He came by and visited. And today we're going to talk about how to light your mocks and how to get those images onto a camera and then out to share with people, right?
Right. So, I mean, basically our focus is how to photograph your mocks. We did a lighting how-to a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's for, like, putting lights inside.
Yeah, we really
mocks.
talked more about putting inside mocks, but the focus today isn't going to be all about lighting. It's about how you can take better photos at home of your models. And if you have the funds to buy some things, we'll have those things to show you. And if you just need to find stuff that's sitting around your house, we also will be able to show you kind of the more budget version of being able to, make these things happen without having to spend a lot of money.
So, like I mentioned, this is going to be a basics overview, but some of the themes are going to get a little deep, and then we'll go back to basic things. So it's uneven that way, but a main overview, and I think what's really cool is what Flynn said, is we're going to show you how to do it with just stuff around your house.
Yes. So hey, Johnny Cat's here. Hi, Johnny.
Hey,
Bill
Johnny.
Ward, Legos for Life.
Yay,
Bunch of
Bill.
people joining in. John Luttrell, how's it going? So, golly, let's
You could almost call it a low tech photography workshop with some high-tech garnishes.
Yes. Oh, and actually, the Mowgli says, "Tricky Leg, let's all share a story on social media to gain more subscribers for Flitchard." That's very sweet.
Wow.
And actually, if people are interested, what I'll do after the show, I'll post a story announcing the giveaway with a picture of the set on it, and then you can share our story on your stories.
That might be easier, right?
Maybe that'd be easier for everybody, and then we can keep it, and we can get people coming, and I think that'll be good. That'll be awesome. Thank you, the Mowgli. What a wonderful idea. I'll be letting you know about that. All right, so where are we going to start?
Well, so we're going to do this in 3 parts here. First, we're going to do a slideshow showing you some of the ways that we've lit our mocks and talking about some of the ways we accomplished that. Then we're going to go back and start from the beginning and show you a setup from like a blank table to a lighting setup for how to light different small mocks.
Right.
And then Flynn's going to talk about post-production, like how to take once you have your camera images either on your digital camera probably or phone.
Probably phone.
No, what I mean to say, probably digital as opposed to film.
Right.
And then we're going to focus on phone photography. Right, and you'll go in a little bit into Photoshop Express, which is a free application that has a lot of power.
Yeah. All right, shall we?
Yeah, why don't we go into the slideshow?
All right. There we go.
So tell us what is the name of this piece, Flynn?
This is called a Boat to Candyland, and you've all seen this before if you've been on the stream. This is a piece I did for San Diego Comic-Con.
So this was a bright, colorful piece, and so we did soft, bright light. You see barely any shadows, right? And something I want to teach you, or maybe you've already seen this, but you can follow the shadows in an image to figure out where someone put the lights. So if you go to the right here, you see a shadow of the cloud on the very right-hand side of the model there, and you can follow that shadow to the cloud, and you can see there was one bright soft light, because it's not casting a hard shadow, on the left and a little bit high, right? Like about 9 or 10 o'clock there. So that's bright lighting where we really wanted to show the colors. What's the next one?
Sorry, let's see here.
Oh, having the soft key thing, right?
Oh boy, here we go again. This is always exciting. Oh, I know why.
No,
There we
because we're
go.
supposed to be in studio mode.
There we go.
Look at that. So this is an entirely different model, obviously. On Candyland, we used a pink background, but pink wouldn't be really appropriate here. So we wanted something neutral, so those green trees and the gold of the cobras would pop. So we're using a gray background there, I think. And again, this is really soft light, and I think we're looking at mostly soft light from above, and then if you look at the shadows of the trees on the white building there, we've got some low light coming in from the front as well, but not a lot of mood here. We just really want to show the bright colors.
Right. All right. Next.
This is the third example of soft light, and in this case, this was one of Flynn's very early models. This is actually what I would call hard bright lighting. You see a little bit in the back, there's shadows on the back of the model on the background, but we lit this with one bright light from above.
So this is how we started, by the way. This is how this is what I used to light that.
Yeah, this is just a simple reflector housing that comes from the hardware store. It takes a medium screw base light bulb, and I'll talk about different sources you can put in them in a little bit. But this was just a spring light, and it was one light overhead about 45 degrees up. Sometimes there's two things that I was taught about lighting that have stuck with me for 30 years. One is look how it works in the real world, right?
Right.
The sun is high in the sky, it makes a beautiful, cheerful day, right?
And then it also gave that nice sort of shadowing in the background. So I didn't do anything to this. This was not photoshopped at all. It was just kind of like I just took the picture and did it. So,
and the second big thing that I learned is when in doubt, turn something off, right? If you have 16 nose shadows, on your figure, or, you've got like 6 shadows of your minifigure on the background, turn some stuff off. In this case, one light that was kind of soft and pointed down so the background was dark was all we needed.
Yeah, it's really fun. And thank you, Jake, and thank you, everyone. I'm glad you like this one. It was, I think this was like maybe the second or third thing I ever built.
Yeah, and already you were doing 16 by 16, and I love the way you did
favorite
emblems on the front of the base of the MOC.
Yeah, my favorite. Okay.
Yes, Moto. Definitely the clothespins on here are specifically for adding diffusion or colored gel media. If you want to pay a lot of money, go to a film supply store and buy some C47s, and they'll sell you these.
But we'll be talking about that.
They'll sell you these for a lot of money.
Yes.
Or you can just go to the hardware store and get a clothespin for pennies. Same exact thing. Okay, so this is an example of hard side light. There's mostly only one light here. I can tell that I used two. The primary light, because I wanted to get into that visor and make it look like he's speeding through space here. And you can see I used a very inexpensive cloth background. You can almost see dog hair and texture on it. So I used one hard side light at about, if we're looking at a clock, it was at about 9 o'clock, slightly back coming in. And then I didn't do a lot of fill light on the front, so you get those shadows. And then you can see on the top of the helmet there's one more light straight down, and that's lighting the blue fin in the top of the helmet. So just 2 lights for that.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. So that was first side light example. And then this here is an example of side light coming from both sides. You can see it on all the minifigures' faces. And you can see if you look at the shadows of the studs there, down in the foreground, there's a hard shadow on the right of the studs, meaning that I used a brighter light coming from the left there, right? And the reason why you might want to put your lights off to the side is so, look how clean those faces are.
Well, and not only that, but you can see the detail in their hair, because that black hair is hard to see, and sometimes it just wants to turn into a black mass, and so you were able to... you were able to give highlights in those hair because they do have all those great little
we worked
grooves in them.
Really hard on getting that shine there because we've got a relatively dark background. So the lines in the hair actually separate the figure out from the background. And I'll show you an image in a little bit. But my two favorite things about this. I would consider this a pretty good photo, of the photos that we've taken. One, you can see all the faces of the minifigures because there's not an ugly line coming right down the center.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you had just a flashlight in front, you might have that line. Right? And then we've also got shallow depth of field. The building in the background is blurry, which makes it all look bigger.
Yep.
So here, remember I said you want to think about how light works in the real world, right? So how does light work in a bedroom
This is
at night?
another one. This was like, what, the fourth pick thing I ever made?
This is one of your this is called Prank Call of Cthulhu. This is one of Flynn's early models here, and he loves angry minifigures. So if you look in the bedroom on the left, the light is almost entirely from above, right? You see it on the top of the lamp, you see the bed lit really brightly, and then you see a hard shadow underneath the cat and the teddy bear. And then if you look at the minifigure, you can see a shadow coming off down at about, what, like 4,
Yeah.
5 o'clock, at 7 or 8 o'clock. So I had a highlight off to the right a little bit. And if you think about it, your bedroom might have a light in the center of the ceiling. So the light at night comes from above. And then the same with Cthulhu there. He's under the ocean, I'm going to imagine, or in some like deep underwater swampy place. So the sunlight, the moonlight, would be green and it would come from above.
Yep.
Right? So that's light in the real world. And then because we want to see their faces, we have a soft light, like maybe a bounce or something really, really, really soft and dimmer right in front so you see the faces.
And this was it also should note, sorry, that this model was actually one single model. So that line that you see down the center was actually existed. There was a wall that was between the two pieces.
Right, so given that, I probably used the same bright source above, which is why you see the shadow of that wall on the back wall there.
Yeah.
So the same top light that's lighting Cthulhu is lighting the other scene.
All right.
What's our next one?
Okay.
Oh. So there's lots and lots of different fancy lights that you can get. But in my opinion, the best light, hands down, there's no light that anyone has invented that's better than the sun. It's powerful, it's a tiny point source, and we used the sun for all of these, but we modified it. We hung things overhead to make shadows, and we put little white cards off to the side. And if you go to the, so actually you can see over the sheep, there's shadows on the ferns, and we laid that little fern leaf down in front just to break up the rock. But those shadows were from hanging a branch overhead.
So this was a little setup that we did at our friend. You may have heard us talk about this before. Our friends moved into a house, and there was a box of Fabuland figures in the house. So when we were up there visiting, and they lived like out in the woods, we did some little setups with those, and they offered to let us take them. And we were like, no, you need to keep those. That's part of the house. So,
Oops. No, I need.
Bill Ward is asking who's Quentin Collins. So that was actually the name that I started posting things under on Flickr when I very, very first started building. And it's a name from Dark Shadows. It was the name of the guy who was a werewolf, and I really he's one of my favorite characters. So I just used that as, I don't know, I guess I was trying to not have my name online. Good luck on that now.
How did that work out for you, Flynn?
Yeah, well, not so much now. But anyway.
You were more low profile then.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next one, we'll see this a little closer up. It may seem almost like we used a flash photo on this, but there's a lot going on, right? We had we put it in a place that had natural shadows from leaves from the sun, so it was already in the shade, but there was a little bit of broken up light. And see those like the almost white ice blue stripes on the roof above the door? That's actual sunlight. We hung a branch overhead, just like this one that I took out of our backyard, and I held it while Flynn took the shot. And then we had a white card in front, probably just a white sheet of paper. And you can see from the shadows on the pig's head, he's a little darker on the right and brighter on the left. So the card was right here on the left, bouncing with that sunlight in and making a really soft photo.
All right.
So this is our first example here of depth of field. Right, depth of field here. The trees.
This is almost done, y'all, and then we're going to show you the real thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty. We've overviewed a number of different techniques, right?
Yeah.
And we'll show you how that's done. So Flynn set these figures on the smooth base here with enough space between the front figures and the mid ones that they would be slightly out of focus. And then the trees are again several inches behind that, and they're very out of focus. And we used a cloud background. So it really, I think, highlights her, this sort of Mona Lisa figure, right? And puts her right in your face. We've got sharp focus, and you see one highlight to the left of her left eye there, right? And getting rid of those highlights on the faces is one of the hardest things we do in minifig photography.
And there's some things that you can do about it in post, but it's such a pain that it's better to try to get it, adjusted. And there's ways to adjust it, which we'll talk about.
Brickworm, I love her octopus base dress too.
Oh, so Bill was asking what time we took those photos outside. Honestly, I don't. They were different times of the day. We took some early in the morning, and then some the ones by the water were a little later in the afternoon.
Yeah, I like morning and evening light the best because you get more natural shadows because the sun's lower.
Right. All right. Let's see.
Okay, and then we've got another depth of field photo here. So this is another of the creepy family, and they've released scorpions in there. And Flynn specifically put the two figures in the foreground right on the edge, right very, very close to the camera, and focused on the boys' faces, right? So everything other than the boys is in slightly soft focus, even the teacher if you zoom in. So we've got shallow depth of field here, making it look like you can still see their expressions, but there's a lot of action in here. And then if you look at the tops of the tiles and the shine on the boy's head, especially the boy on the right, it's important to have those shines because otherwise he would melt into the chalkboard.
Yep, all that hair would be gone, right? It'd just be a black blob. All right.
So this is another example. One way that you can get shallow depth of field is if you only have so much light and there's some stuff really close to your camera and some stuff really far away, then the thing you focus on, imagine here's what you're focusing on, here's your camera, and there's other things deep here. These will be out of focus, in focus, right next to the camera, out of focus, right? Or you can zoom in. So Davin White, I think was it Davin?
I think Davin
shot this one. Stood back behind the barricades at Bricks by the Bay and zoomed in on the surfers there, and it was so far to the wave in the background that was all out of focus. Right. So zooming in gives you a shallower area that's in focus, which will make the stuff outside of that little safe zone out of focus.
All right.
And then what's next?
I don't know.
We're looking at vignetting now. So this is more like, Flynn, the stuff you're going to talk about in the last section has to do with this. You want to talk about why you would do vignetting and what it did for this photo?
It's just a way to help focus, and it also, for me anyway, it helps anchor a photo and not make it seem like it's just sort of like floating in air. But I mostly use it to focus.
It's those dark shadows around the outside corners, right? And you can make that really obvious, or here it's a little more subtle, I think.
Yeah. So you can see more vignetting in this one. This is actually one of the first photographs that I took after we got back from Lego Masters, and you can see that I did a lot of effects on this. There's a bouquet, which we'll talk about later, and there's vignetting, and I really I adjusted the colors. The backdrop though was like it was.
Yeah, that pink paper there, we actually shot it on, right?
Yes.
And if you go back, please. Mm-hmm. If you look at the shadow underneath the package there, the CMF package, you can see a pretty hard shadow underneath it. And if you track that back, you can tell the light is from almost straight above. And that gives her the highlight on the top of her head there and really helps pop her out from the background. And then we have probably another light from the left. You can see if you look at her face, there's expression on her face there.
All right.
And then this is an example. Flynn took this photo. He set this entire model up specifically, exactly for this photo. and it was kind of a complex setup you can check out on our Instagram, right?
Yes.
But I think this is an example of very good Lego photography here. It's got subtle post-processing. It's probably warmed up a little bit.
A little bit.
It's got the vignetting in the corners. It has, I think, complex lighting. There's downlight in the background on that, the city of Oz, and you can see shadows underneath the clouds there that really pop them out, almost like literally a drop shadow, right?
Yep.
And then in the foreground, Alice has a high, kind of from a little bit rear position top light that lights her hair really brightly.
And I should mention though that image that you're seeing in the mirror is actually there. This is not
That's not
pasted in. Like there was a hole in the set, and then the like the front half of the set was very small. So the space from the front of the model to the mirror frame was short. But then
just like
from the
4 or 5
mirror
tiles.
frame back to the Emerald City was actually quite far.
And that's why the fact that the Emerald City is so much further back is how, since we're in focus on Dorothy's face there, the Emerald City can be out of focus in the background.
Right. And let's see. Oh,
and
we're back at the beginning.
That's the end of it.
There
So
we go.
that's kind of an overview of the kinds of things we think about. There was a lot of stuff with composition and all that as well.
Yeah.
But one thing that's consistent through all of those is you can see the expressions on the minifigures' faces without extra reflections.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So now, after that very exciting slideshow, we are going to, because slideshows are always exciting, we are going to do a...
Let's go top down.
We're going to talk a little bit about how you actually do the things that we showed in here. Okay.
Yep. So this is a super quick overview here. This is a book I love, the Kodak Color Handbook from a long time ago. When was it? 1953, right? But the same is true now. The first thing I'd like to talk about is different kinds of sources that you can use to light your models. And what you're looking at here is a color map. And let's imagine here that this is the sun, right? And it's got all of these colors in it. If you put your red and green and blue and yellow bricks out there, they will look red and green and blue and yellow as long as your camera is set for outside light, because it's got all of these. But you could also use a fluorescent source like this. And remember, this was our basic building block for all of our lighting. We built a PVC tubing cube, and we would hang these. We had like 4 of these that we would hang all over it. And making sure that this is, I'm going to do this safely.
It's about that time, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to put these glass light bulbs away because things are about to get exciting.
All right, are we ready?
Are we here? Let's get some of these.
Okay.
Okay.
Logan! Oh, usually he's always here by now.
Look at that. Come on,
there
buddy.
He is! Yay! Logan cookie time!
Look at that. Happiness. Happiness. Are you wagging your tail? You can see by the way his head moves. Look at that. He's wagging his tail. I don't know why I talk in falsetto with him. He's got
Everyone
a little
does.
Look, he's still
One
here.
more.
There, he got it.
Yay!
Good boy. Okay, so I don't mean to scare you with those charts, but I just mean to say that the sun, like if you put a prism out there, it's going to make all the colors in a rainbow. But if you take your reflector housing and put a fluorescent tube in it, which we use right now, we're using fluorescents on the front lights of our faces, daylight colored ones. It looks pretty warm here because we're using cooler blue light, but it may not show, this fluorescent may not show all the colors of your bricks as much as sunlight would.
Right. So what we're here to show you though is how are like what things that you can get to make these things happen.
Flynn,
right.
let me show you just two other things.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got the sun. You can light things with. Fluorescents are super cheap and they're super bright and don't take a lot of wattage. This is an LED one, right? And this is a warm white LED, so that would be a great source. And then this is the old school warm incandescent. And if you just have regular light bulbs in your house, you can totally take... Oh, sorry, Flynn. I'm so sorry. This is 150 watts here, right? Sorry there.
It's all right.
Lights! So what I mean to say with all of that is get the source that you can afford to get, right? And if you're using fluorescents, use all fluorescents to light it with, or incandescents. Don't mix your sources so much because then your phone will get confused.
Right, but if you want to really show, but what you were saying is if you really want to show colors well, getting a light bulb that has a more bluer light is better than a yellower light, right?
Well, no, not exactly.
Okay.
What I mean to say is some sources are continuous, right? A light bulb, a regular light bulb like you grew up with, not fancy and electronic, has a filament that when you put power in it glows. And when it glows, it reproduces a lot of different colors. So that's a great source to light your models with, but you have to tell your phone the little light bulb setting, or it might automatically go to light bulb, right?
Right.
That's one kind. It has all the colors in it, most of them. And then daylight also has all the colors in it, but it's bluer. So the phone needs to know that it's bluer, otherwise you've seen that before, right? You get the wrong setting and your photo comes out way too orange or blue.
Right.
The phone's just confused about whether you're using an incandescent bulb or daylight. So if you have the funds for it, we have bigger versions of these fluorescents. We got a kit on Amazon.
Yep.
We've got a light stand for it here. And here's the kit. They're, I think, what are they, like $100 for like $150 for
less than
$3 light kit.
Yeah.
So it's pricier than just using lamps. I mean, reflector housings from the store, but they go together pretty easily. And we have two of these in front of us. And you'll notice this is unplugged while I'm doing this, so I don't get zapped. Right? And then we've got a big giant light bulb here.
It's like the world's giantest swirly light bulb.
Right? So, but again, if you're just lighting little models, this works pretty much like that.
Yep.
Right? Not exactly, but pretty much. And this just screws in here. I'm not going to turn this one on and blind Flynn and I because it's very bright.
Yeah.
But then here's the next part. So this is all silvered on the inside, right? In the same exact way that this is silvered on the inside. It reflects all of the light out, which is very efficient. Now the next thing, and I think Moto was saying this, is you can put diffusion on the front of your light. So you get softer shadows. And the way to think about diffusion is, if you go outside on a sunny day, then the sun is a tiny spot that's really far away. That's like this, right? And the clear sky makes really hard shadows from the trees on the sidewalk. But if a cloud bank comes in and covers the sky with big soft white surface, then there's no shadows anymore. That's what this is doing. That's exactly what this is doing. What are you looking for, Flynn?
I was grabbing this because we were talking about diffusion, and there was a question about how
Oh,
we
yeah.
might do diffusion. So this is another thing that you could get. Now we actually got this a long time ago, and I thought that we got this from Johnny.
I think
I'm
it may
not
have
sure.
been from Johnny, a really thoughtful gift.
But it's great. So it's like a flashlight, right? About how much is this thing? I don't know because it was a present. The other thing
I don't
that
know.
we got,
I would guess under $30 for this, probably. I'm not sure.
and I should mention the other light kit that we just showed you. It came with 3 of those lights. So it had 3 of those big soft lights. It also came with a stand that will hold a light directly over top. And it also came with some backdrops, some like fabric backdrops.
It came with 2 more of these stands with a bar that goes across. So you can put, we'll show you seamless paper in a few minutes, but you can put a big backdrop on that. And so we don't expect everyone to go out and buy that. If you've got the funds, it sure has made stuff easier for us.
Yeah.
But we're going to show you the tiny style way
So
to
we're
do
going
it.
to talk a little bit about diffusion since we're on diffusion right now.
Yeah.
So we have this little guy right here.
I'm going to make it a lot darker right now.
So we have this little Monkey Kid Mac model that we're going to use. And I've got this little flashlight here. And I want to show you... So what's cool about this thing is that not only does it have this awesome little, bendy tripod, but it actually has a dimmer. Like you can dim and brighten this.
Yeah, and it's the feet are magnetic, and you can wrap them around things.
So, but notice that when I put this facing this, suddenly I've got a really, really hard light. Right?
Like that. Down on his face there. Right. Well, and also our video camera can't handle contrast as much as phone cameras, right? So what do you do about your sources too bright and your shadows?
So the fancy way to do it would be to use this, which is a piece of diffusion gel, right?
Yeah, that's made by a company called Roscoe. They make theatrical gel, and it's probably about $10 for a sheet, 20 by 30 inches, right? And this is a heavy frost diffusion.
So once I put this over top of it, suddenly I'm not getting that super harsh thing in the middle, right? There we go. Now I've got a slightly better, and you can't see here again because of the way our video camera is, but this is actually a much softer light, and I think
can we reliably turn off the turn off the studio light? We have new fancy control of our studio light.
I can try. There we go.
Here we go. So you can see, actually, our studio light is a big ball in the ceiling, and it's almost directly overhead. So you can see, look at the shadows here.
And now I'm going to put the diffusion in front of it again.
Right? And we haven't moved the light at all. And so here's a slightly deeper dive. There's two things going on there. One, the light's getting dimmer. Ooh, there, I'm working backwards. One, the light's getting dimmer, and two, it's becoming like a fog bank, right? So if I pull this fog bank, well, it's harder to tell here, but the bigger the circle, the more of your diffusion you fill, the softer it is, right? A little cloud in the sky makes kind of soft shadows. A huge white sky, no shadows at all.
So, Albert, you bring up a good point. This diffusion gel is specifically meant to work with photo lights, so it can stand getting hot.
Yeah, but it can take 1,000-watt lights.
The next thing we're going to show you, though, is the more home version, but you do have to be careful of melting. Yep. So this is just a regular old plastic bag. Now this one's a little thicker than one you might use. Like the thinner ones, I think, are a little bit better. Well, but this works, but you do have to be careful that you're not putting on a light that's too hot, and that's a good idea about using LED lights is that they don't get as hot. Right?
So let me expand on that just for a moment and say, like a fluorescent is very cool and an LED is very cool. This flashlight is an LED, so it's very cool. Do not do this trick on any regular incandescent bulb because you'll melt it, you'll make a huge, horrible smell, and maybe a fire.
So we've just taken this white plastic bag. Now it blocks off a lot more light than the diffusion gel, but look how it softens.
Right?
From there.
Hard shadow
to there.
Soft shadow, and it dims it down. So that's without changing the angle of your light at all. And then here's another. So actually, this is a good time to start talking about direction, right? Right? So from the side, some diffusion there. If we could zoom in enough, you'd actually be able to make out his face. And I think that, while it's, we're going to want to add other lights, is more dramatic than that. This may show more details. Oops, can you hold that up there? right? So if you think about it, there's like a clock. There's actually a sphere all around your piece, right? If you light it from the front, let's go to a fancier light, Flynn. Can you bring back studio conditions?
Yep.
So think about a sphere around your entire piece. You can light straight from the front, and that's probably going to show the details really well, but it won't be dramatic at all. And then let's go back to where we can see here. And we'll show people this light.
So now, if you have a little bit more money to spend, you can get one of
zoom
these.
out a little bit.
Yeah. There we go.
So this is a fancier video light. I think Moto uses lights very similar to these in his studio, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another little of these bendy tripods that can roll around stands or stand up, and it's great for your phone as well. So this is an LED source. You can turn it on like this. It's going to be very bright, right? Sorry. And then this one actually has a dimmer.
Yeah, so I think that's if you really want to like get value for your money, then get something that's dimmable.
Yep. So remember, we've got our studio light from above.
Should I turn this one off?
Yeah, turn that off. Actually, just turn the studio light off as well, would you? So this one not only has dimming, you can also make it a lot cooler or a lot warmer, right? Depending on whether I'm balancing with indoor light or outdoor light. And this is already pretty soft. It's not like a tiny spot like the sun or a match.
Or that flashlight.
Yeah, or that flashlight. It's already soft. And we can put another piece of diffusion even in front of that. I don't know if you can see a softening in the shadow.
You can see it a little bit.
Yeah, it softens it a little bit. But your ability to dim a light, down like this for your phone picture is hugely helpful.
And so this light was, I think, what, like $60?
I think it was about $60.
So it's definitely not on the budget end.
Right.
It's definitely not on the budget end, but it will it will get the job done. And if you want to, if you have the money to spend. But again, like, you can still do all of these same things we're talking about with one of those clip lights like we had before.
Yep.
I wouldn't suggest putting a plastic bag over this.
Oh, whoa, super bright. But dim this down. And if you can't dim it down, pull it
back.
Further away. Just pull it further away.
Right.
Some of the other lights, like those big tents that we're using, have control in that they have a black skirt all around it. So the light only goes where you want it. While this has nothing like that. So you can just take tin foil if you want, aluminum foil, and I wouldn't clip to this, but I'd tape it and make a little eyebrow for the top.
So a couple people were mentioning that parchment paper or pattern making paper could be a good thing to use as diffusion as well.
Yes, again, as long as you're using a fluorescent or LED source.
Yeah.
A nice cool source that's not going to set it on fire.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about beam control a little bit. If you've got I'm going to not blind us anymore here, but if you've got this and you can't control it, take aluminum foil and make a tube around it. And then you can bend that tube alternately. If you don't have a lot of rigging, take your photos with a friend. All the time.
Have somebody hold it for
Yeah,
you.
we help each other out. Like, I'll hold a card or I'll hold the light exactly where it needs to be. But this is called an eyebrow. It's just to control the top. And should we go ahead and set up that seamless now?
Sure. Do you want to continue talking about the lights?
No, let's talk about a few more methods,
Okay.
right? So where are you going to mount your light?
James O'Neill. Hi, Mom. Mom's here. She says you're smarty pants. It's true.
Hopefully I'm not jumping around too much. The things I like to think about with light are power. Power is easy. In this case, it's batteries, or with the clip light, you plug it into the wall. Position. How are you going to control it? You know, does it have a stand? Are you going to set? Please don't set your clip light if it's hot directly on anything. I did that in college and burned a hole in my dorm room rug. So don't do that. Or like burn your furniture with it. No, a nice, safe thing to put it on. So power, positions, and control. And in this case, control is with a dimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Or this card that I can just tape it to.
Well, can you show us like how that card works?
Yeah.
Like what it does to the light?
Yeah. Can you go to the down camera?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We have so many objects out today, don't we?
Yes, there's a lot
A
here.
lot, and there's going to be more. Okay. So I'm going to put this slightly from the front so we don't blind the camera. Watch yourself, Flynn. Okay. Right there. So with this card. See how it's now dimmer in the back and brighter in the front? That's just putting the card on, right? Mm-hmm. You can also, you know, if it's, let's say, oh no, it's shielding the camera. Well, I mean, if we were zoomed in on the Mac, you can use a side card to shield it off the camera so it doesn't flare and be awful. Right? And if you had a light from the back here, like, oh, look how dramatic, and we can go to front camera again in a minute. I do this all the time. You put an eyebrow on top of the light, and you can see in the shot of us, and it's no longer flaring the camera, not flaring the camera, right? Will you go to the front cam?
Mm-hmm.
Put this guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the camera was lower, can you turn off the studio light too?
Yes.
Or is that, I don't want to do anything unreliable. It's this new control over the studio light.
Albert is asking, would aluminum foil on the other side work as a reflector? And yes, actually, we're going to get into that in just a second.
So let's see here. Will you put this camera low? There, okay. So look, top light, front light, backlight, and of course you can see my stand here. I'm being sloppy about it. But if this was low enough, it would be flaring the camera. So there, look at that flare. Flare, no flare. Bad. I mean, it could be good, very sci-fi, but I don't want it in this case. So I'm just putting that card over, and I want to keep the light on him and off the camera.
Just going to show what you're doing.
Right?
See, so you've got the card there, and it makes that.
Right? And then if yeah, the bigger the card and the further away it is, the harder a cut you get.
All right.
So let's go back to normal light again.
So let's talk a second
We should
about
see if there's questions too.
Well, yeah, I've been keeping up with them. So
cool.
People are talking about reflected light now, which is probably a good place to segue into reflected light.
Yes.
So there's, multiple ways to control your light, like we've been talking about, and sometimes having a light just like right on it isn't the best. It's not giving you like kind of a soft light that you need, right?
Well, look at this.
Yes.
Oh my God, I look horrible. That is the worst. How am I even allowing myself to be on the web looking at that horrible, horrible way, right? But so Flynn is going to use a professional flex fill right now to help make this look a little better. Let's turn off this front light too. Right? It's, oh my gosh, terrible. So now I'm just going to take this light and turn it around.
So this is called a flex fill,
yep.
Right? And you can use it to reflect light. It has sort of like a silvery white side. It has a gold side, and it also has
on the inside it has another white side that you can shine light through.
It's like a diffusion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. So see here, I want to teach you a trick about diffusion.
And if I remember correctly, these are pretty cheap. Like this was like $10 or less,
yep,
right?
They're very cheap, and they go from about 18 inches up to 48 inches, and they just close up very small for your pack.
Yeah.
So check this out. See my hand through there?
It's like a horror movie.
Right? So that means that this is not a very heavy diffusion, right? Exactly. Not a very heavy diffusion because I can see my hand. right? This.
Oh, and also I meant to say this one also has a silver on the inside.
So that's not going to change the color of the bounce light.
Silver.
And then the other is going to give you like
Gold.
a golden sunset.
And then this is white.
So, sorry for the jumping around, but that, I could see my hand there. I could see my hand through this a lot more. So this is a lighter diffusion. It's not going to steal as much light, while this one is meant more for sunlight, where you've got an impossibly bright light, right? So when you're choosing your grocery bags, choose one based on how much diffusion you want. Can you see your hand through it or not? Okay, so check this out now. Let's do this on me.
All right.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. Flynn, will you put the bounce up there behind the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, terrible. So much nicer. Look how much nicer that is.
And look, watch what happens when I take this away.
Right? It's bouncing the light.
Suddenly, we're really dark, right?
Right?
And that's because of this.
Right? So now put this right behind the camera.
Not really room for that.
Oh, see. Here, we'll do it like this. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so without flaring the camera... Oops. We need to do this without flaring the camera. Here, we'll do it off to the side. Will you take this and shine it on this card, and then we'll increase the brightness?
Mm-hmm.
Just hold it nice there. Want it off of me. Ugh.
Yeah, this isn't gonna...
This isn't working out. So we'll do it like this, right? You can see that bounce, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so much softer.
Especially
it fills
when you take
in.
it away.
It fills in all the horrible cracks in our old face. No, look, we look wonderful in this soft bounce
Now
light.
pull that away. The bounce. There we go. Very dark.
Right.
And can you show the gold side now?
Now here's the gold side. It's a lot harder reflection, but the
Mhm.
gold side and gold wrapping paper would work as well. Gold foil wrapping paper would work. It just warms it up. It makes us warmer in the foreground. And then if you don't have any of that,
So this is sort of like our home version that you can do. Now what I've got here is, this is just like a cake round, a cake cardboard. You can get them at Michael's. It's just sort of like a shiny white disc, and then you can wrap foil around the other side. And I believe is it better, Richard?
it's better if it's not glossy.
Yes, but this particular one is glossy, but you can
Yeah.
still see it's giving me a reflection, right? When I hold it up, you can see
Right.
the reflection.
And see, that's
that.
without any other additional lights in the room. We've got this
And
one
look at
light,
that, even more
right? And so that's, and then if you want to do like
spooky.
a spooky underneath, right? So that's actually, so this is maybe a less shine the lights in your eyes way of doing this, right? We've got this highlight above and slightly behind, which helps separate Flynn's hair from the background.
Mhm.
Do this. Right here, he's got a hard backlight. I'm shining, and that's a hard reflection. What if you turn it around to the white side? Much more pleasing, right?
Yeah.
Even though this is not a right level of light, you
Yeah.
can see it's much softer on the white side than it is on the shiny side.
Mhm.
And then,
Oh, and Albert says using both a diffuse light and a reflector can save money instead of buying two lights for those on a budget. Very
yes.
true.
So that's something right now. This is two lights, right? Can I have that back again?
Oh, mm-hmm.
Or we'll just use this. Here is a bright light above our heads. It's hitting my nose and creating these deep eye sockets. And there, the camera only sees just what's there, right? So that's already
Hi, Yano.
bouncing some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this light above us is already so diffused that we're having a hard time having it show how we want it to be, but you can see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, so basically one light turns into two. And you only have to be right off the frame.
Right.
A bounce light is much weaker, but you can be right off the frame. So, you've got your sources, you've got your directions, you've got some way to hold it, whether it's clamping it to furniture. The last piece of the puzzle here on the lighting side of things is texture. And we talked about using something like...
Hey, Walker, welcome. Thanks
Hey,
for
Walker.
following. Appreciate it.
We talked about using something. Can you go to the front cam for this little guy again?
Mhm.
We'll just angle him down, please.
Mhm.
Right. So it's very, very lots and lots of light everywhere.
Maybe I should turn these off. Sorry for all the light turning off and on, but it's just much easier for you to see this way.
So right now, I've got this light right behind the branch, right? If the sun was setting on the tree, you wouldn't have any shadows on the sidewalk. But the sun is very far away in the sky, right? And the branch is very close. So now you get harder shadows, and the further away your source gets, the harder those shadows are. And then the trick is, you want to put your shadows, where is it? So that the openings in the shadows light the guy's face or whatever you want to light there. And so you can take your branch that has too much, and Flynn just takes some branches off of it, or some leaves off.
Do what?
Just break some leaves off
Oh.
of this thing, right? And you can actually cut holes in it specifically to light your piece.
Yeah.
You know? And again, we would take like an hour setting up a photo. So I'm doing this all very quickly here. So you probably have a branch, but you can also just take a paper plate and cut holes in it and suddenly have, where is it?
Now, this is a professional lighting, theatrical, and photography lighting thing. It's called a gobo.
Yeah.
And what a gobo is, and actually you've probably seen, if you were here when we were putting together the Stranger Things set, you will have seen the effect that gobos have, because they used a gobo with little tiny spots on it to give sort of a dappled light effect onto the back wall.
So that's just holes in a paper plate, and you can cut holes where you need them.
I mean, and these are really big, right? Like, you could also, like, just poke holes in it with a pen and have, like, little holes. It just depends on what you're going for. Like, if you've ever seen an old 1940s movie where they have, like, the blinds, like the leveler blinds, shadow on the wall, that was probably done with a gobo.
Right. I mean, so here, there's an actual gobo that goes in a theatrical spotlight. Bars, window, here's a moonscape pattern. But you can cut all that out of foil. Like, you could, if you want it to be sturdier, take a piece of construction paper or card and then get the foil on it, and you can poke little holes with a pin or just cut out whatever holes you want.
Right.
And then if you want to get super fancy, this is going a little deeper, take your light, let's say it's your reflector housing, take a piece of tin foil, and if this was a clear bulb, then it's more like the sun on a clear day, and it would make hard shadows. If I want hard sci-fi shadows, clear bulb. Softer shadows, frosted bulb, like a cloudy day. So take your clothespins, hook your tin foil, aluminum foil here as an eyebrow, and maybe even cover over your light, and then cut it into ribbons. And you can part the ribbons and just form it to make exactly the shadows you want.
Well, and also foil can be really cool because you can crinkle it up and make like a almost like watery, like crinkly effect.
Well, can we take a look at that?
Sure. Shall I get some? Oh, here we have this foil.
Okay.
So this is kind of a little bit going back to the reflected light.
Yeah.
But you'll see. So if I just take this piece of foil and instead of having it be straight flat, I can wrinkle it up a little bit, and it's going to give me. You can't see it from here, but
See, this is a very small source here, this flashlight. This is, again, like the sun on a clear day. But look at that. Wiggle it around a little bit.
and you could even. I mean, you can crinkle it up further if you want a more dramatic effect.
Now the trick is, let's see.
You know, by moving it around.
Yeah, and this is pretty subtle, but if you have a brighter light than this flashlight, you can see rather than having a really hard spot,
Yeah.
you know, you can bounce it and have soft and broken up. And if you use blue light, then that breakup can be water. And if you use red and yellow light, that breakup can be fire for your sci-fi scene.
Yep. Hey, Boone's here. Hey, Boone. Actually, we're going to be on Boone's show this Thursday.
That's so fun.
Very excited for that.
Okay, so I want to take a step back here and talk about a couple things. We talked about having a sphere around your model, all the way around, and you can put your light anywhere along that sphere you want. Side light, top light, backlight can be romantic or spooky, and then you put one here in front to light the face, right? So one really, really good setup is to have a light from the top and then put a bounce and bounce that light back in the face. And then you've got one light, it might be the sun or something in your house, you know, that does all those duties. So put your light somewhere around that 360 and try different places and see what looks cool. Then put something between your light, something to control it, and cut light off the background so it's a nice dark background if you want, or bounce it and break it up, or put it through leaves so you can control light in that way. One final thing that we didn't talk about is color, right? So this LED goes from warm to cool, very warm to very cool. But if you want cool light, the sun is very cool light. It's sort of blue, right? Warm light inside, incandescent light. Anything with a bulb that glows is very warm. And so you can trick your phone too. This is a new concept. If you tell your phone that this is your light source, and then you put your model next to a window, that light's going to look super blue, like, oh, I've got night light coming in and warm here, and vice versa. If you tell your phone that your daylight, pick the little sun on it, the little sun symbol, and then you light it with this, you're going to have like orange firelight. So you can play with color. And I'll just finish up, if I haven't made your heads pop yet, talking about theatrical gel. In addition to having a colored source, like you can just use a red light or the sunlight or a light bulb, there's hundreds of different colors of theatrical gel that you can use. Greens and pinks. They're probably about $10 a sheet.
No, but you have to actually like order those special from a place.
These
right?
are special. One of the place I work for, or many other places that sell theatrical lighting gel. Roscoe makes really good ones. Lee makes good ones. But I don't have theatrical lighting gel, and I just want to light my mock, and I don't want to buy a lot of extra gear. So what can you do instead? As long as you have a cool source. Don't do this on...
When you say cool, you don't mean a blue light. You mean a light that is not warm.
Yeah, if you're using a fluorescent or an LED, like these guys that aren't going to get hot, then instead of using theatrical gel, you could use a pink pencil holder.
Very nice.
You know, that light goes through. Oh, sorry. How many times am I going to blind you, Flynn? I know not to do that.
I don't know.
Let's see. So, we'll dim it way down.
Yeah, there we go.
Right? Well, we're blowing it out from above, but I guarantee you if you
Why don't you try the green one? It might show up better.
If you put a pink translucent plastic cover... Well, see, there
we go.
With our light above. So now I've got green just from a green report cover. And pink, a pleasing soft pink. Maybe there's some blue tinged in. Oh, because we're bouncing off this guy too.
Well, and you could also do cellophane again if you don't have.
Holiday cellophane is really cheap. The big difference, the two differences between these and theatrical gel is the ability to take heat and pick your color exactly.
Well, you know what I was thinking would be too. I know you use the report cover, but I don't know if they still sell these anymore because I'm 1,000 years old. But binder dividers would often have the colored
colored
the little
dividers.
colored, like
Yeah.
sort of a see-through color plastic. You might be able to get
Yeah.
one of those. Trans Lego bricks are good. The only problem is because of the way that they fit together, they can distort the light and cause
Yeah.
like little refractions. But if
Which
you
can be
like that, it can be
beautiful.
great.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about that, if you have a cut crystal plate that's not a precious treasure that you're worried
Yeah.
about breaking, but if you have like a cut crystal glass or plastic, those breakups in there, those facets, can make a really pretty broken up light.
Kind of like the foil,
And remember,
although it didn't show very
this
well.
gold reflects gold light, so any color of paper reflects that color as well, and you can bounce your light.
Speaking of paper,
Yes.
so now we've talked about tons of different ways that you can light your model for photography, and now I want to talk about some things that you can do to make your whole photo setup cheaply look a little bit more professional.
I'm going to step away just for a moment, and I'll be right back.
Is it to fill coffee?
Oh, I will fill your coffee.
Is it to fill coffee? All right, so yeah, stained glass is awesome. Cellophane will change the light color. You could also double it up. Like you could use a couple sheets on top of each other. But again, if you're going to go for any of these routes, just make sure that you are using LED bulbs and that the cellophane or whatever or fluorescents are not like right up against the bulb. Just please be super careful about that.
Leave some air.
Hey, Quarantine Creations, how's it going? So one of the things, and I know probably everybody knows this, but one of the big things that a lot of photographers use when they're taking a photograph to get a nice backdrop is a sweep. And normally a sweep is going to be a big giant roll of paper. You've actually probably seen it back there sometime, which you pull down and then it makes a smooth look, right? So not everybody has the room or the money to afford a real backdrop. So if you're shooting small models, I just go and pick up sheets of this paper from Michaels, and it comes in lots of different colors and styles. And what I just went in and picked up a bunch of different colors that I thought might be interesting. I've got this fluorescent pink, which is crazy. You really have to be careful about and these are like $1 or $1.50. And you can get tons and tons of pictures. They even have, tons and tons of colors. They even have stuff like this, which I love, this like gold glittery disco paper, which you have to be a little bit more careful of.
Well,
right?
because you can see your lights reflected in the shiny things, right?
And also be aware that these papers are small, so these are great for photographing small things. If you get bigger, then you have to get a little bit more creative. So not only do they have those colors and such, but they also have things like this blue cloud backdrop, which I used on tons of photos. Whoa.
Oh, the
Whoa.
camera's confused by the sky.
Yeah, anyway.
Oh, funny.
It's a
Here.
sky.
Hi, focus on this.
We also have an
there
an outer space backdrop, which suddenly disappeared. I don't know where that is.
Yeah,
But,
we've used that one a lot, and they have wooden backdrops, lots of textured paper. I think some of that Japanese paper with all the fibers in it can be really beautiful too.
Yeah, it can. And so you just have to be careful. And if you're creative, you can figure out ways to make this work for you, no matter what size you have. So the big thing about making a sweep is what section of Michaels are you finding these? Michaels there's like usually like a craft aisle section that has like school type crafts in it, and that it's usually there.
Is that all right?
Coffee. Mm-hmm. So, no, our background isn't a backdrop. It's a real.
Yeah.
It's real. So.
Oh, I'd lift him up, but
So check it out. I've got something. So I've got this little thing back here. Wow.
It's getting very confused by the colored
It
paper.
is getting
isn't
very
it?
confused. So check it
There
out.
we are.
This is. Yeah. So I know that it can be really easy to wrinkle, but yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep our faces in this. Let's tuck it under the computer a little bit.
Clicky. Okay, I get it. I know it doesn't work. I'm sorry. We've apologized like 100 times. Really? Oh my god. All right. So yeah,
There, we'll give it a hard edge to focus on, and then it'll be
there we go.
happening.
So
Yay,
you can
thanks,
see
Clicky. I like Clicky. He's all right.
He's all right.
He's just doing his job.
He ain't heavy. Okay, so
He's a paperclip. I mean, a brick
he's a brick
separator.
separator. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about a sweep.
They also sometimes call it a seamless because
Right.
there's no crack where the wall meets the floor. It just, you get this smooth gradient.
Joel says, "Who is responsible for Clicky?" We are all equally. We hold equal responsibility for Clicky. He was invented from in the chat. And Clicky, get out. Yeah. So if you use the slightly thicker paper, it won't wrinkle as much. And one of the things, now you can get these not from Michael's but from an art supply store. I'll show you what I keep my papers in. So anyway.
Yeah, you do have
This-
to be careful, especially at the back corner. Your model can put a crack in it, or
Right.
like a big bend.
And so you can adjust, and you know, also when wrinkles, if they're slight, are things that you can kind of take out in post production. So like afterwards.
Yeah.
So-
but we're gonna try, and the aim is to get the best photo you can, so you don't have to create it all in Photoshop, right?
Yeah. Hey, Kristen Diltz, how's it going? But yeah, so something to think about though is like looking at this right here is what color backdrop do you want to use for the picture that you're taking? Like right now, this is a nice color backdrop, but it's so close to the color of the building that the building
Yeah.
actually kind of gets lost against this color.
Yeah.
So this is a case where you might want to pick something else. And
We could just lay the other one over.
something
this.
else I would like to note too is that be really careful about getting paper that is too light in color. So I picked this one that was a super pale shade of pink,
We could just even lay over it if it's easier.
and when I put the pink on,
It just looked gray, right?
it looked gray and awful.
Oh, this is gonna fall off. Let me go under the computer a little.
Yeah, sorry everybody. There we go. So now you can kind of see,
Now it'll focus again.
right?
I think.
Clicky! Jeez! Enough, man. I get it.
There we go. I
There,
like
there.
Clicky.
Thanks. We don't need you anymore. Thank you. Yeah. So I've used this. Now I'm using a yellow because even though there is a yellow door here, it's still, this backdrop really helps the building pop out from the background, right?
And then I have this idea that if we shield some of the light from the top, I'm just putting a card over.
Right.
I wonder, we would need more light from the front for this, right?
Right. But that's the idea of using sort of like a sweep and how you can do it differently. Now I know a lot of people like to use
Yeah, please forgive us as well. Our webcam does not have the subtlety of a digital SLR camera or even an iPhone.
it's
right?
pretty common, I think.
Right. So we're not able to show you live the kinds of contrast that we can get in the photos we showed you earlier.
So this is yeah, so anyway, this is our little holder. That's what I used. You can use a little bit of tape. Just be careful when you're using those papers, is that if you put tape to tape them up, a lot of times the tape will tear pieces of the page off when you try to move it and all that stuff. Yeah.
That blue painter's tape is great. And often, if we're working on the table in the back here, we'll put the sweep up and then tape it up to the bookcase.
Now, I know that a lot of people really like to use fabric because they're like, oh, I got to take a picture. I don't have anything big enough for the background. I'll just use this bed sheet, which is totally legit. And like, if that's what you have, that's totally fine. The problem with them is first of all, they can look really wrinkly. And when you shine light on them, that light is going to catch every single wrinkle in that backdrop.
Well, do you remember seeing one of the earliest photos I took was that side-lit photo of the little speeder bike with the yellow astronaut? And that was a fabric background. That was black duvetine, but it was wrinkly. It showed every bit of dust. And paper is just, I find paper is easier. There are nice
And it showed the grain. That was
Yeah.
that's the thing that I don't like. You can see the grain of the fabric.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
go ahead.
on this idea we talked about before about using maybe a single source and bouncing it. If you have limited sources, take your cards or your foil or barn door on the top of your light and bring the light down the background, right? If your sweep is way up here and your model's down here, if you control the light on the background some, then your model will pop a lot more, right?
Yep.
If your background is so bright, like in what you just saw with our yellow here with our overhead light, then the model's not so special. It's sort of overtaken.
Yes. Oh, and somebody was just suggesting wrapping paper as a possible sweep
I
drop
love it.
because
Yeah.
it's wide and it's long. But you do, as somebody mentioned, you have to make sure that it's opaque enough because otherwise you might see the it's real thin and you can see the pattern from the back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, this might be really obvious, but one thing that is so important to do is to look at it. Look at it carefully, right? Don't, and I gotta say, the photos that we see people turning in on the challenges are really good, and they're
Yeah.
also way, way better because I think people are thinking about them than in our earliest build-in chats. But if you want to know what the light's like, really think about it. Where are the shadows? Do you see everything you want to see? Right? And same with the background. If the background looks cool, it can be saran wrap, anything that looks cool on camera. Just look at it really hard.
And I would also suggest take the photo, and while you still have it all set up, look at the photo. Because
zoom in.
There's nothing and zoom in because there's nothing worse than like what you think is the best photo, and then when you go into post production and you're looking at it, there's like a giant hair, and I've actually got a really good example of that coming up. But speaking of hair and dust, that is one thing that shows up really, really well in big close-up photos. So always make sure that you are in fingerprints as well, and that's actually how you can always tell the difference between when I first started working at Brothers Brick, I was like, how do I know if something's a render or if something's a real build? And they said, look for the dust, hair, and fingerprints.
Yeah.
So
I've actually taken fingerprints off with a Q-tip and Windex before.
Right.
Just because I wanted a really clean piece.
So this, so to dust, I know we've put this on a lot before. We've shown this a lot before, but we use this little vacuum cleaner. It's for a keyboard.
USB
it works
powered.
really well. USB powered little vacuum cleaner. It works great for getting up the dust and stuff. Now, if you want to do this, this is the stuff that Moto sent us. This is Universal Dust Cleaner. It's like goop,
like slime,
and you can it will pick up the dust, and it will also not only will it pick up the dust, but it'll also take off the fingerprints.
Yeah,
so
it's
this
just
is
like
great
putty.
to use before. Yes, this is great
It's
to
for
use before.
keyboard cleaner, right? Both of those things are for cleaning keyboards.
Yes, both of these things are for cleaning keyboards. So there you go.
So we talked about how to support your lights, what lights to use, where to put them. We talked about backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. So now, and it's funny because I think we kind of went backwards. We probably should have talked about this stuff first.
Well,
but
I wanted
whatever.
to. I can get a little nerdy about lights, so I wanted to get some of the harder stuff out of the way.
So I'm gonna show you one of the things that I found that was the most important is a tripod for your camera. And whether that means something fancy like this one, we have this sort of like fancier tripod that we got
And this is like a really low cost tripod.
It's a low cost one.
We have some that are fancy for video cameras.
and it's got this we bought a little phone attachment on. It attaches, you can just, stick your phone on there. That's one solution.
Right. Nice thing about that kind of tripod, it has a quick release plate, on and off fast.
Where's the light? The rectangle light? But what I suggest, and what is my favorite, is actually this thing that you saw us using on the light. And you can actually take the light off of this, and it has an attachment that you can attach your phone onto. And what's great about this is that you can set it on your tabletop if that's all the room that you
really
have.
Low, right?
You can get really low. You can get crazy angles if you want. A little thing like this is great because what happens is a lot of times when you see like pictures that are blurry, it's because your hands are shaking. Like if you're like me and you have shaky hands, then you can get really it can really screw up your photos. And that's another reason why you want to take a test photo and look at it and pull in, because what you think looks great at a distance, when you pull in, you notice, oh, actually that face is really blurry. Another reason that you might see blurry faces or things in photos is because the light wasn't bright enough. And that will often cause you to have a low light will often cause you to have something blurry. Right? It gets grainy. One of the things that I also loved about this is it comes with a little remote, so you don't even have to touch the phone, because that's the problem. Part of the times with a phone and taking pictures is that you put the camera in the holder, but then you're touching it, right?
And you're like,
you're doing
facing
this,
away, and you're like, where's the button?
And so you're touching it, and then you're moving it. So having this sort of this will automatically take the picture for you, is super helpful, because then you don't have to touch it. I gotta say, I had to take so many less photos to get the right photo once I started using these things.
So these are pretty low cost. Like, we buy most of our stuff pretty budget, but you can be lower cost with it. You can do when I was working as a videographer, we would sometimes use a theatrical sandbag as a thing to hold the camera on, because it cradled it, right? But even if you don't have a sandbag, you can use a bag of rice, right? Just take a, hopefully something that's not going to leak. Take a bag of rice, and it's really moldable, and you can make a little slot in it, and it not only can it hold your lights, again, not hot lights, I say because of so many things I've melted, but it can hold your camera. And then we did this too.
So, and then if you want the super budget way, you can always just make a Lego tripod or a Lego holder for your phone, and of course you can make this as tall or as short as you want.
Hey, look at this brick.
This is
from our brick badge.
So we just made a slot here. You can put your phone, you just sit your phone down into it, and then you at least have you have a way to hold your camera. You don't have the kind of adjustment and ability to move things, but if you're on a budget and you really need a tripod, this is actually when we very first started streaming on Instagram, this is what we used, because we didn't have a tripod.
We had our big digital clock on the iPad, and we had it in there. Yeah, it was great. And then it got rebuilt like 6 times.
Yes, it did. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, and I know we've gone over a lot of stuff, but I really quickly want to talk about post-production stuff and the things that you can do after the fact.
I think it makes sense to spend a few minutes on this. You'll forgive us if we've gone a little bit long today.
Yeah, but hopefully there's some information here. You've learned some new information that'll help you with your photos.
Yeah, remember we said this was photo basics? It's kind of basics with some other deep dives.
It's basically intermediate. Okay, so we have the Flex Fill can be $15 on Amazon. Oh, and you know what I wanted to say? I took somebody's advice, and I got like the you'll have to do that. I took somebody's advice, and I got the thing from Amazon where you can like make a link for the stuff that we talked about it, and if you click the link, then like we get a nickel or something from it. But anyway, if you go check out our website, TrickyBricks.com, it's still a little bit in flux, but I will put a post up that has links to all of the things that we talked about today. So if you want to pick up any of them, you can. All right, so real quick, can you unlock it? I'm going to show you. Okay, so Photoshop, which is sort of like the gold standard for all photo processing stuff. And I know it's pricey and it can seem scary, but you can do it right in your phone. And if you're taking pictures on your phone, it's the easiest thing in the world. This is called Photoshop Express.
How much does it cost?
It's free. It's a free app. And I use it for a lot of the photos that you saw. And I'm going to just do a really quick, this isn't going to be any kind of in-depth thing, but I'm just going to kind of show you where the magic is.
Well, it's funny. So I've done lighting for decades, and you used to teach Photoshop.
I did.
But we find that there's such amazing low-cost tools now. You want, here, we'll put this under there.
Yeah, that's great. Might as well use a brick to hold it up, right?
That?
Okay, so here is an iPad showing...
This way.
There we go. Here's an iPad showing our goodness. Sorry, I'm going to try
Our
and...
minifigs on a
Thank
colored
you.
background.
I'm going
And
to try to turn this top light off so we have
yeah,
a little
there
less
are...
reflection.
Oh,
there we
look
go.
at that.
Much nicer.
Oh, that's worse because it darkened the paper, so it's blowing out the thing.
Okay, well, you never know. All right, so here's a little photo that I took, and so here's a really good example about why you want to look at things close up. I noticed the other day, and you may or may not be able to see it, but there is a hair like right there in the photo that I didn't see until we were like getting it set up for this.
That's a human hair.
Thing. I was like, it's a big, yeah, it's one of mine. Here's...
Yeah, so take your photo and zoom in.
So all, Instagram and all these things always provide you with a lot of sort of like pre-made looks. You can do like, oh, daylight and dark light and that. I don't like those. I like having a little bit more control over my pictures.
So you can take an effect and have it subtle if you want, right?
So you can see here, this one says My Looks Basic Charm, White Balance Matte, HDR, Black and White. Just skip that. Just skip it. Where you really want to go, where the real power is over here. This, I don't know if you can see it. It's this this little symbol, the lines with the little circles on
settings,
them.
Right?
That's where you want to go. Because now you have complete control over every little thing. So you can see here on the bottom we have exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows. Not really.
Oh, this is the close-up. I'm sorry.
I can try and come a little closer. There. That's the best I can do.
That's good.
You see, so you have all these little things down at the bottom. Blacks, whites, shadows, highlights, contrast, temperature, and you can just kind of play with all of these things because they're on a slider.
Talk about temperature for a second.
So
that's a big one.
Here's the temperature, and we talked a little bit about warm and cool lights. And let's say that you took a picture and you're like, oh wow, you know what, this really came out too warm. Well, you can use that color temperature adjustment to make it either more blue or more yellow and orange. And you have to be careful, but you can do it a little bit in either direction and still kind of reach the thing that you want to reach.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is your position about changing colors in post when you're shooting Lego models?
I don't like it. I try to keep as close as possible. I do tend to pump up the color for ones that I really want to pop.
The saturation, right?
Yeah, so you can see this is a saturation. I can really sort of like pump up the color. I can desaturate or saturate the color.
Like
now, you don't want to go
white.
too far because it can get really
Well, it can
weird.
blow out, and it doesn't look like Lego anymore.
Right, but you can do some adjustments here. I like that. See, I like to pump up the color just a little bit because it makes it that much more dynamic. I know we have different feelings about that.
Yeah, I just try and make it look like the real model, but happy and exciting.
Right, and if you're a little off, there's something called if you're a little off with your maybe it's just a teensy bit blurry. You can do sharpen. Will help you sort of like sharpen the image some. But you really do have control over every little aspect of this. So I think this is the way to go, if you ask me.
This is a big one too, right?
Yeah, this also has a crop feature. So if you take a photo that is a regular size photo and you want it for Instagram, you can choose square here, and it will automatically crop it to square. You also they have settings for Facebook posts, Facebook profiles, Facebook cover, Instagram stories, Twitter. Like they have a ton of different frames here, including different sizes. So if you just click there's your image. That was what it will look like when it's cropped.
Can you talk for a second about these hash marks that are in the image? They're compositional guides, right?
Yeah, these are composition guides for when you are taking a photo, and you've probably maybe heard this before if you've done anything with photography, and that is these like divided up in these little sections. Ideally, your subject would either be in this center square or maybe in one of these side squares.
And I like to focus on, like if I had a big, a lot of stuff going on, I like to put the points of interest right where these intersections are.
Bookworm, yes, the rule of thirds, exactly.
Yep, exactly. It's just an easy guide that helps, and you sort of internalize that after a while.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too far down that road because that's like a whole other thing.
Not at all.
But, yeah. So that's the crop tool that you can work with. Now they have these other things called overlays. Now these are really crazy. Now you saw before where in my cheetah picture that
The
I did,
CMF.
the CMF, you could see those little sort of like sparkly like light reflections. In photography, those are called bokeh, and this is called light leaks, which I don't really like. But bokeh can come in handy. The only problem with it is an overlay. So meaning I can fade these little up dots that just appeared, but this probably isn't the ideal one for me to use because it's covering the figures. But if I bounce around, now look at these, right? All these little reflecty dot things, those little cute things.
And you usually lay things like that over a more blank
A more
area,
blank
right?
area. Yeah, so there's a really
Super
dramatic
party.
example. And you can see here that I have the slider again, and I can fade that effect back a little bit or up.
Yeah, so if you have an area of your photo, like part of your seamless that you want to add a little mood to,
Yeah.
you can do that. But again, everyone's different, but I like my model to look like my model. So I do little enhancements, but I don't want the photo effects to overtake it.
Right. This also has an option for adding text, and I won't go too far into that, but you can do there's like all kinds of settings for text that you can add to it if you want to do that. There's stickers, there's borders you can do, all kind of business. You can do the little collages, like it's got it all. So really, like for a free uh, for a free program, it's really quite powerful.
You know, something else we think about too is we think about the final intended purpose for a photo when we take it, right? Do you need to leave space in there above because you're going to put a bunch of text in, you know, or we'll just treat it in a different way if we're submitting it to a convention where we feel like it should be really just like documentary, just the facts, right? Versus like a web header.
So one of the things that you can affect in here, and this is one of the things that I really like, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the vignetting we were talking about earlier, is the radial blur. So right now, this whole picture has an even focus all the way across. Like everything's pretty much at the same level. Now, fortunately, with my little guys here, they are at the same level as everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a radial blur, and the inner circle is what's going to stay in focus, and the
Always those
outer
faces,
circle,
right?
yeah,
Faces
the
are
outer
so
circle
important.
is what's going to get blurred. So you can see that I've created this circle here, and when I start bumping this up, you can see that it starts to get very blurry on the outside, a little bit more blurry on the inner circle, and then not blurry at all in the center. So that automatically is giving me
Well,
um,
you want to assist people in knowing where to look, right?
right,
Especially in a complex photo. In the
exactly.
same way that you can add lights on the inside of your mock that say, look here at the monster, or you can put a spotlight, you can also do it in post. It just says, look here.
Yeah. So then you can do the same thing with a vignette.
And you can center that wherever, right?
Right. So I've centered. You can change the centering of that, but so I like the way this looks, but I want to add like an even more like I want to add even more like a dreamlike quality to it. So I'm gonna choose vignette here, which is all the way at the very end. And don't be fooled. So that thing that I showed you with the
Little
little
setting
controls.
sliders. Oh, that's off screen
Sorry,
now.
you just got to keep scrolling inside that menu to get to this vignette. And the cool thing about this is you can adjust the amount and the midpoint and the feather, which means how soft it is on the side and how round it is. But the cool thing about this is if you go in one direction, it
It's
gives
white.
you a white vignette and you can take it all the way to that. If you go the other way,
Ooh, Hallmark card.
it gives you a black vignette,
Dark shadows.
right? This is definitely more dreamlike. Right now, all of a sudden, we're like in dreamland. Like we're
Yeah,
all
it looks like RuPaul's Drag Race.
so not quite blurry enough on the faces though. So so that's a real easy way that you can. That's a really yes, and the hair is gone. You're right, Bill. So that's a real easy way that you can add some focus in post production. Oh my goodness, the neighbors are moving, so there's lots of noise. Sorry
I
about
didn't
that.
hear anyone cry out.
No. So, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for Photoshop Express. It's free. You should definitely go in and noodle around with it and find out what might, like what works best for you.
Can I add to that
Sure,
even one thing?
please.
So we talked about fancy kinds of lighting and ways you can do it, on a budget. And certainly you can pay a lot for Photoshop. You can download this free one. Or if that's even technically like, I don't want to go there, your phone has a lot of photo ability right in it. You can do cropping. You can probably change the contrast, make it brighter.
Yeah, it's limited,
it's
but you
not
can
as
do
good.
it.
It's not as good.
Yep.
I just mean to say that there shouldn't be any technology between you and really good photos of your beautiful work.
Absolutely. I mean, we got
Nothing
by for a long time with those clip lights. Like a long time.
And we had 4 of them. We would put 2 in front, 1 in back, and then the last one would light the background. And we shot a ton of stuff that way.
Yeah. Bill, Google Photos and Instagram have a lot of those features. They do, but still their use is limited. The reason I like Photoshop Express is because you really can go into like, I just want to adjust the blacks.
Well, it's a
I
sandbox,
just want
right?
to adjust. Yeah, it's much more. But I also understand that might be really overwhelming for a lot of people. Like for me, that is like, I need to have that kind of control.
Yeah. But I mean, not even, but just if you don't take anything else away from this, think about where to put your lights, what color they are,
and your backdrop.
So what's behind it. And I see lots of people putting things on cool, like wooden tables and
it doesn't necessarily. And that's the thing, though, right? Is like having your depending on what you're doing, having your backdrop remain as neutral as you can is really going to help show off your model, rather than a backdrop that is very busy or like a sheet with lots of wrinkles in it. Like it can be very distracting.
Yeah, but just like varying the color can add some mood, or putting it in nature. So where to put your lights, what to put your model on, where to put your camera, and then how to get it from the camera in front of people's
onto
faces.
the interwebs.
Right, and in this case, most of that means on the web.
Right, and so one thing that we didn't go over that I know a lot of people use is photo cubes. Now, we don't use these just because we have another setup and we build big stuff. But if you're doing smaller things, there's these little sort of like pop-up cubes that are made from like white fabric, and they help because they create their own diffusion,
and they also give you a neutral background,
a very blown out white background. It's great, I feel like, if you're trying to highlight a product. I don't personally like it for my photos just because it's a little too white backdrop. I like to have color in my pictures.
Yeah, but there are so many options there, and I could have shown you a lot of diagrams and all that, but I think hopefully it got you thinking, about a variety of ways you can just take your model and show it off to people.
Right. So thank you everybody so much for joining us today. We are off tomorrow, but we will be back on Wednesday, where we are going to be finishing up the Monkey Kid. It's such a long name. Monkey Kids Team Secret HQ.
Oh, that one.
With the big boat one. I hope that you've taken some interesting information with you today, learned some new techniques. Thanks to everybody for all of the comments and thoughts and ideas in the chat. We super appreciate it. Don't forget, we're doing a 2,000 subscriber drive, and it's got too much stuff on it. But if we get when we get to 2,000 subscribers, we will be giving away the Monkey King Warrior Mech set. Also, keep a lookout for our 100th episode, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks, where we're also going to do a giveaway.
Yeah, and a lot of you have been with us for like many of those episodes.
Yeah,
too.
a long time.
Crazy.
So we could get more into like focus and all that sort of like business, which we will do at some point. But this was really wanted to give you sort of like basic to medium overview of everything.
So we're coming up with these how-tos based on stuff that we know how to do, what our experience is. If you want us to go deeper in something, please email us and let us know. If you have other questions, or you're like, whoa, just pick up a set and build it, guys.
Yeah.
Just let us know,
Flynn at TrickyBricks.com. And also, This week's challenge is a random minifig vignette challenge. What we want you to do is we want you to pick a minifig from your collection at random. That means just don't pick it out ahead of time. Don't think about it. Just like close your eyes and grab one. That minifigure must be the central character of your 16 by 16 vignette. You may use other characters if you want to, but the one you pick has to be the main character.
That's the one. Random. Wrap a story around it.
And then you can send that to us at Flynn@TrickyBricks.com, or we now have our new Google Forms, which is actually streamlines the process for us greatly. And if you have a Google account and you can do that, please use the form. I have posted the link in the community tab. It is up there, so you'll be able to link right to that to submit your submissions.
Right on.
Is that everything?
Well, I feel good about that. I got to nerd out about lighting and places to put your camera, and that was great. I like these how-tos. They're fun.
So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a really great day, and don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear your mask, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.